The following announcement has been paid for by the
Mark Order.
Welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast, where we talk about all things AEW related, and tonight we talk about Full Gear and a little bit of the Dynamite reactions. I've got a PhD in THC. I'm the Doctor of Pod, CosmicScott, and joined tonight by my partner and co-host, who is well respected by everybody in the locker room and has just been signed to a long-term deal by the Elite Mark Order, JayV. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm super happy about the contract extension. We're going to be doing some great things. Also looking forward to talking about the lead up to Full Gear and what's shaping up to be not a great pay-per-view, but an interesting pay-per-view with some interesting matches.
Well, we definitely want to talk about that a lot more. Dynamite, I thought, was a really good go-home. I thought that it was a way to sell the pay-per-view. But if you haven't already, go ahead and give us a subscribe, press the like button, leave a comment down below. Give us your thoughts on Dynamite, on Full Gear, on anything AEW. We want to hear it, and it really helps with YouTube algorithm if you go ahead and give us a comment, a like, a subscribe, etc. We're on a drive to 1,000, so give us some help if you would, please. So, where do you want to start? I want to start with Kenny Omega got a pin. He got the one meaty angel. He got a fantastic, brutal, and sort of comedic match to close out the show. You got to be happy about that. You're a huge Kenny fan.
Yeah, it was the Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name street fight. It's the first time I've ever seen one of those matches, probably because it was the first match. Yeah, it was there. I think there were some ups and downs in this main event, but ultimately there was 3 ridiculous spots, and I guess 4. Like Ibushi getting clothesline off the bike and landing on his head. You had Paul White getting slammed by Hobbs off the platform onto a truck.
Man, and how big is Big Show now? That dude's got to be close to 400.
And you had Cage giving Kenny a superplex off the second rope to the outside through 2 tables.
That was phenomenal.
And I think probably the most nutso spot of the match was Fletcher giving Ibushi a tombstone off the apron onto a table which was on top of a ramen sign and a bunch of chairs. So, crazy shit.
That was crazy to say the least. It was fucking amazing. Fletcher showed he obviously deserves to be at that level. So does Takeshita. Kenny and Ibushi have established themselves as Jericho and Paul White did. This was really helping a lot of the younger stars, I thought. I love the match. I know, obviously, Don Callis didn't get win. He was never going to get the win. And, of course, he brought in an outside member, Brian Cage. And who got the pin? Brian Cage got pinned. So, the one meaty angel, I got to say, seeing him take that, seeing him take the Snapdragon, seeing Brian Cage take a couple of these moves was pretty damned impressive. I will say again, Brian Cage is underrated because he's had a bad reputation for a long time. I know Krill hates him. He's Mr. Get My Shit In. But I'll be honest, Brian Cage has grown on me as he hasn't really been positioned to be dominant. He's had to sell, and that's hard to do as a big puffy guy who's clearly plumped up on steroids. You've ever seen the young pictures of him. Oh
yeah, I thought Cage delivered. Cage always delivers, in my opinion. The issues with Cage are his charisma outside the ring, telling interesting stories outside, or when he's not in between the ropes.
Yeah.
He just needs some more charisma. I think the face paint helps. He looking like Road Warrior Animal.
He kind of is.
But I think I would like to see him get pushed because he is an excellent match. It's like I've talked many times on this podcast about watching his matches against younger stars and even much smaller stars, and in the indies, and he always goes out of his way to make those other guys look good.
Yeah.
He's 39, so he's not young, but I mean he's in incredible shape, and I thought for sure Kenny was going to work the screwdriver, the Steiner screwdriver pile driver that I forget what they call it in AEW. The corkscrew or something.
I guess it would be a corkscrew pile driver. I always think of it as Zangief. from
Yeah.
Street Fighter because he does the corkscrew pile driver as a
Right.
finisher. So that's always been my thing. But I'll be honest with you. I agree. I think
Drill claw.
the drill claw, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
they
got
call it the
it's a
drill claw.
badass move. The drill claw
And it's
is.
Scott Steiner improvised that. It's a vertical suplex into a sheer drop pile driver, sit out pile driver. So it's one of the most deadly moves there is. So
You got to be strong to pull it off. You really
you
do.
do,
Now,
and to keep your opponent safe.
yeah, exactly. And don't forget, you can also join the conversation and get all the behind the scene news and insider information that we know, which is to say, not at all, by joining the free Discord and become an Elite Mark. Go to elitemarkorder.com, click join the Discord, and or you can click on the description, the link below. As far as the actual Full Gear, again, the go home with this. After the actual final match, we had MJF come out, talk a little bit, and had Jay White come out, had the Bullet Club jump him, and had that little go home. It built some interest. Maybe there were people who didn't know, somehow still watching, that Jay White was going to face, didn't know that Jay White was actually not the champion and was going to face off at the pay-per-view this weekend. There's a lot of fucking AEW to watch this weekend. 3 hours live on Friday, I assume head-to-head with SmackDown, and then the pay-per-view on Saturday. Do you think Saturday, this is their big chance to, make an impact? SmackDown is leaving Fox. We know this. There's a year countdown before they're done on Fox. Do you think maybe Tony sticks with Live Collision for a while?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's much of a build up for Friday's show. So I'm not sure what kind of a rating AEW is going to pull going head to head with SmackDown. They need to keep their people fresh for the pay-per-view. You can't have someone getting hurt Friday night and then that would really upset the fans. So I don't expect to see a big show or a good rating. I think tonight was really the go home for the pay-per-view, but who knows? Maybe Tony will surprise us and put something together cool on Friday night.
Well, here's the one thing about AEW that's been consistent. They generally do some pretty badass pay-per-views.
There hasn't been a bad one yet.
And there hasn't been one without the Young Bucks. So thank God they actually get to fight Kenny in whatever heel turn elite breakup storyline is going on. I'm not really sure, but at least they're on television. And hey, Kenny got to win. The Bucks got to win. They're having storyline on television. Adam Page is probably going to have a barn burner of a fucking match on Full Gear. Now let's do this. Let's actually move on to Full Gear. And let's talk about this because I actually think this is going to be pretty big. I think that the Continental, the challenge for the Continental, what did they call that thing? The brackets, that stupid ass contest. Not stupid ass, but
the something continent tournament.
Thanks. That helped me a lot. That helped fill in the continent part I didn't have. But yeah, that tournament, I think that leads up into World's End is a great opportunity for AEW to maybe establish a sort of consistency. You got the big the build up during the holiday season is really what it is they have this tournament built out. So really, if they do as many matches as you were talking about in the Discord, that's a lot of goddamn matches. The fact is, they got to do either twice a week, or they're filling in a lot of wrestling during the holiday season. I don't think that's a bad idea because it takes a lot of scripting and plot off the plate of Tony. The man needs help. What were you going to say?
Yeah, it's the Continent Classic. There's 12 wrestlers. It's a round robin tournament, and it's going to the finals of the tournament, which we don't know how the finals are going to what the rule. We don't know what the rules or the point system is going to be yet. So if it's a true round robin with 12 people, everyone fights. You have 12 guys fighting 11 matches each. So that turns into 66 matches. And then they get points for a win, a lesser point for like a draw, and then no points for a loss is generally how it works.
Sure, that makes
And
sense.
then
You have a
and then you have the two guys with the highest points who have already faced each other in the tournament, face each other again in the finals to declare the winner. So it would be 67 matches. So we got 6 weeks. So are we really going to get 11 single matches per week as part of this tournament? Or 12 matches per week. That's a lot. It's a lot for guys to be fighting 2 singles matches a week, especially if they load up these brackets and we have like dream matches here where there's going to be high expectations for decent matches. I don't know. I'm just really curious to see where Tony's going with this, because a bracket of 12 is a really, really grueling 6 weeks for these guys, and it's not something they're accustomed to after fighting once every 2 weeks, having a grinder of a match. It's a lot to ask, so we'll see what happens.
That's I'm thinking again, because they're doing it during the holiday season, are they even going to try to tape a couple of these episode or matches or what have you, maybe back to back to back, so that they have it sort of in the tape library, and then they can just present the matches during some of these holiday breaks? Because realistically, you take the 12 top guys, you put them in a bunch of fucking matches, you end you end your year with a lot of phenomenal matches, and it's got built-in plot, it's got built-in story. You don't have to do a lot of work for basically your 12 top guys. Now, we know Bryan Danielson's going to be in this because it's for him, but you put somebody like Will Ospreay, who's not in the company yet, but maybe he wins it. Maybe he goes against Bryan Danielson as a final and loses.
Ospreay can't. I don't think Ospreay can be in it because he signed in New Japan. He'd have to be in the U.S. for the next 6 weeks.
Okay, you think it'd be too long? Yeah. Okay.
No, there'd be because he has to promote his Wrestle Kingdom match.
Right, they have
Japan,
stuff going on in their own stuff.
Yeah,
I understand.
So Ospreay can't.
So realistically, you still loaded up with 12 great people, and there's not a whole lot of room. As you said, you did the math. There's not a whole lot of room for much else on a show. You throw in maybe a couple of women's matches or women's.
Yeah, you got 2 singles matches. You have the women's match. It's half your 2-hour shows, and it's almost all of Rampage. So it's like, yeah, who could be in this? I mean, just looking at the roster, could Adam Page. Adam Cole can't because he's hurt. No. Andrade.
Is he a
Miro
top?
can't be in it. Is he what?
Is Andrade a top star?
I think he's bigger than. Yeah, I think he would probably be in the top 20 guys.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a big thing going on with CJ, so that's why Miro can't.
Miro would never agree to do it because he'd have to lose a couple matches.
Yeah, you really stuck on that. I don't think it's that bad, but that is definitely your opinion of Miro.
Let's see, Bandito could be back. Brian Cage could be in it. Let's see, Buddy Matthews.
Let's just say there
Jericho.
are 12 top people. I don't know that we need to go through each one of these one by one.
Hey, you know what I think would be awesome if it's Danhausen. It's his big return. He comes in and sweeps the bracket.
When the hell is he coming back, by the way?
He basically said he's cleared on Twitter, but they don't have anything for him right now.
They didn't have anything on fucking Halloween.
Fucking merch seller.
Yeah. This is the season for fucking Danhausen. You don't have anything for him. He's got to show up at Full Gear. He's got to at least show back up at Full Gear, if nothing else.
You could throw Kenny in this tournament. I mean, that would be.
Oh, good God! You put Kenny
then
versus
you'd blow
Bryan.
You'd blow your Kenny versus Danielson match. That should probably be a stadium show.
I mean, it could end up at World's End. We don't know what the prize is at the end of the Continental Championship of the tournament. So there's a lot to be said. There's a lot that they can build on. Tony's been really good about putting a lot of building blocks into place. and building on the potential for the future, Wembley, a bunch of other stuff. I think that this is another one of those, if they can produce it well year after year, it could be a real keystone to just their end of the year. You know the ratings are going to be solid because it's going to be 12 of the best in match after match, and then a couple of other things around it, and that's your damn show.
Do you think Sting will be in the tournament?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I see him wrestling twice a week.
12 singles matches.
Absolutely.
Or
Totally.
11.
He'd no-sell every one of them, but he could do it. He'd
Nick
never
Wayne
take
in the
a
tournament
bump.
would be... Nick Wayne in the tournament would be badass.
You know, any of the young stars would be nice to see, just to get them some of those exposure points, you know, as it were. Nick is getting a whole lot of exposure with associating with Christian and Edge against Sting. You know, he's got a lot of people who are currently mentoring him. I think he's okay. I'd like to see a little bit more for some of the women. I'll say it again. I'm gonna keep beating this drum till maybe Tony actually listens. I know he listens to the podcast. He has to. He pays our checks. But the fact is, he needs to give the women some more focus. I think the segment with Timeless Tony Storm and Superfan, I forget what her name is, the new signee. I think that's going to be great. It's clear Tony knows her and has worked with her and knows she has chemistry with her. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Tony's the best new women's addition so far.
It's Mariah May.
Mariah May, correct.
Yeah.
She's
and hello to the Elite Marks that just joined us. How's it going, Mark? And Kingpin, good to see you.
We got some
Elite
chat
Marks
people
in the audience joining us for our podcast tonight.
Fantastic.
Feel free to join us on stage if you guys want.
I was going to say not just that, but also go ahead and leave a question. Go ahead and ask questions. Leave a comment. We'd like to try to include you guys as much as possible because it's not just about us. It's also about the audience, about the Elite Marks, Mark especially. You know, we are named after you, Mark. We are the Elite Mark Order, so you should take the opportunity to give us some of your love and opinion because you're important. All of the Elite Marks are important. I don't know where the hell I went. So let's talk a little bit more about Full Gear at this point because we know that there's a lot going into it, a lot of matches. Right now we're looking at 9-10 matches. So it's going to be another long weekend full of AEW wrestling. Hopefully we'll get some good shit out of this. Hopefully Hopefully Friday isn't as bad as you're predicting and Saturday is better than I'm predicting. That together would be a pretty good weekend. I don't know how much of the 3 hours on Friday I'm watching. I'll be realistic with you. Not if I got to deal with 5+ hours on Saturday.
Yeah, I might. I'll probably just hit it on the DVR just to see if anything cool happens before the show. But yeah, I don't have 3 hours on Friday night to watch Collision and Rampage. So
if I didn't have 5 hours dedicated already to AEW on Saturday, I would watch it on Saturday morning. I would do, get up early, bake my brains out, and watch some wrestling. It's great. But it's just not the same thing when you have a 5-hour show that night to watch.
Right.
So,
it's a lot in a 2-day span. So.
And, we already got a good, midweek show. Friday, Saturday, that's just way too much, Tony. Come on now. Give us a break. We want to be fans, but, too much is too much. Let's talk about Full Gear for a second.
Do you want to start with the first match? We got MJF and to be announced against the Guns for the ROH tag titles.
Well, the story...
Is MJF going to do this handicapped, or is he going to get a partner? I don't know.
Well, the story they've been telling in Excalibur has continued to pursue or to push on commentary is that MJF is becoming more and more isolated. He's becoming, he's cut off from his friends. People who tried to be his friends, like the Acclaimed, were taken out. So the only person left is Joe. I think that tells me that this has all been a big plot by Joe. So do I think MJF is going to call on him for help? No. Do I think it'll cost him the titles? I don't know. The Guns, even if he's miraculously got, I don't know, say Goku from Dragon Ball Z as his partner, just some super overpowered, there's no way he could lose. The Guns automatically have the stray bullet Juice Robinson ringside. That automatically gives them the opportunity to interfere and win. Do I think they need to keep the belt on Max? As long as Adam Cole is hurt, it's just dragging him down. I think the Guns are equal to ROH champions. They are that good. They're not AEW title holders. I don't think they're good enough yet. But I think they absolutely could hold the titles and do it justice. They're going to be on TV. It adds to their premise. Yada, 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 yada. The ROH titles mean nothing anyways. Might as well give it to the Guns so that they can be even bigger, cocky assholes.
Yeah, I think the only way the Guns will lose here is if MJF does come up with a partner somehow. Samoa Joe sat there tonight and watched MJF get his ass kicked. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was because MJF didn't ask him to be his partner or what the story was there, but they've been pushing the Guns pretty hard. You know, they've been getting wins every week. So for the Guns to lose in a handicap match, kind of like the Righteous did at the last pay-per-view, like that just won't be good for their brand or the Bullet Club brand. So I don't see them losing straight up.
They're getting a big push. They're getting a really big push. Yep. Bullet Club in general is getting a big push. If Jay White loses, I don't see any way that the Guns can lose. They have to win if Jay White loses, just to keep the Bullet Club anywhere near relevant. So I agree with you. I think that the Guns have to win this, and MJF has to drop the title, and they'll continue a storyline. They'll be able to win it when they come back and continue whatever. I don't know how much of the Devil storyline will be resolved. Certainly not as early as the first match in the 0 hour, the free match. So,
no, I think the one promo tonight with Wardlow kind of ended with the Devil, and it was like they're almost implying there's a tie-in between the Devil and Wardlow. So I don't know. Maybe there is something there. Maybe not.
We'll have to find out. I'm excited.
That's right.
The next matchup we're going to talk about is the Women's Championship, Hikaru Shida versus Timeless Toni Storm with her butler, Luther. There's no way Toni Storm loses this. She's got to walk away with the championship. She's the only woman who's getting television time, promo time, character time. She's over. She's got a catchphrase. She's got her own fucking camera color.
Now, come on. After that banger a couple weeks ago with Shida and Ruby Soho, you think Tony's going to take the strap off Shida after that incredible matchup?
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I think that as much as Shida is beloved by the crowd, she's still not over. If that makes any sense. She doesn't.
But she's not a superstar.
She doesn't have...
And Toni Storm with this new gimmick is shaping up to be. So yeah. I think we're going to see a title change.
Here's the thing. Shida is not a superstar. She doesn't have the ability to get up and over to the next level with an American audience. Not yet. Give her time. But, she hasn't been able to connect yet. Toni has. This Timeless Toni Storm thing, I don't care. If you hate it or love it, you're getting a reaction, and that's what matters as a wrestler. It started with chin up, tits out, watch for the shoe, and that alone she stopped doing, even though she brings it up occasionally, because it would have become overdone, like the Acclaimed. I think it would become overdone, overexposed. She's playing into this perfectly. They're giving her lots of lead, and she's running with the ball. They've got to give her the championship. I think there might be some shenanigans with the Outcasts, but I think ultimately she's got to win the title. She's got to. That's all. I hate saying that. Cheetah deserves better, but she's not going to get any fucking time on camera. No matches. She's got nothing. She wins the title, and then they do nothing with her. She's the Bryan Danielson. And I don't mean Daniel Bryan. Or no, I mean Daniel Bryan, not Bryan Danielson. When Daniel Bryan won that title and got no respect, sort of like what happened with Chris Jericho when he became the Undisputed, and he was basically Stephanie's bitch. Hikaru Shida has gotten no love as far as the booking, and that's unfortunate to me.
And Tony has a match with Emi Sakura on Friday.
She does, a tune-up match.
That should be a good match. Emi can go.
She can.
Emi's one of the best performers they have in the female division, and would be nice to see. That is a match I'll go back and watch on DVR. It should be a good one.
She's a great Emi Sakura is a great wrestler. I enjoy her character. She's just fun to watch. So yeah, I agree. And her and Tony get along great. They have good chemistry. So I'm excited. The next one up, we have a big clusterfuck match. Not as big as a later clusterfuck, but this is still a big clusterfuck. It's Sting, Darby, Edge, Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. They've been building up to this for a while. Adam Copeland has been their big signing, but he's absolutely not a needle mover. I think Copeland versus Edge has some meat on the bone. I think there's more to explore there. Obviously, Sting gets the win. Sting doesn't lose. Darby Allin with Sting, they've never lost, I don't think. You just add in Edge, he's brand new. Obviously, Sting wins.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sting hasn't lost at all in AEW, not even in a tag match or anything else. Let me just
handicaps,
check real quick.
Nothing.
Yeah, so I mean, he beat. Remember, him and I think it was him and Darby beat FTR, and he had both FTR and the Scorpion at the same time, and they tapped out. Like Sting has gone over everybody in AEW that he's been in there with. Yeah, if I look at his match,
20-0
by year, he is 23-0.
Yeah,
since joining.
There you go.
So
there's an AEW NJPW mix that I missed a couple in. But yeah, he's...
so I expect, I definitely expect Sting's team to win. Some interesting dynamics here. You're gonna have Ric Flair cornering Sting, Darby, and Edge, and you're gonna have Nick Wayne out there with at 18 or 19 years old with basically 2 generations or 3 generations of. You could almost say there's 4 generations of stars here. So
I mean, you look at Sting's career. You look at Sting's
Darby's
career.
young, and Flair. Flair's going back when he started. I think he had his first match in the '60s. So, you have quite the spectrum of experience here, and I just think it's cool that Nick Wayne gets to be in there with all of them. So this should be a fun match too.
Absolutely true. Nick is getting a phenomenal exposure. Talked about that earlier. You look at Sting's career. Somebody recapped it best. And it was the fact that Sting is in probably one of the earliest wrestling video games, late 80s, early 90s. And now he's in AEW, WWE, full detail render. He went from 8-bit to fucking full 256 color. That's how long Sting had a career. Like, that is a long, long career. And I'm just glad that I've got to enjoy a lot of it. I was there for We Want Sting in WCW, which was never heard before. 85, thank you, Mark.
Flair's first match was 1972. So.
And there you go, like a little over 10 years later, 1985, Sting's first match.
Yeah. He's
had a hell of a career. I've been a fan the entire time, so, he's Surfer Sting, Crow Sting. Crow Sting by far was the best. So
I was never a big Sting guy, but I've always thought he was decent. So
sacrilege.
Yep.
And I will hear none of it. I think that Nick Wayne obviously gets pinned. Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, they're the patriarchy, as their team is now known, is well situated. They're not going to lose any heat for losing the match. Nick losing the match is hardly a big surprise. I doubt he's going to get a big pin. I doubt they're going to have Edge eat a pin in basically his first pay-per-view at AEW. Darby certainly isn't, and we've talked about Sting, so
Right.
got to be Nick Cage or Nick Wayne.
Yep.
So next up is the international match. International title, Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley. I know this is a repeat from the last pay-per-view. However, I think Cassidy's got to win this one. He really does. Moxley buried him on the mic. They lost the match tonight. I think the story going in is that Orange Cassidy must overcome Jon Moxley. That would then give him the full, true ownership of the sword, or the wand, if you want to use a Harry Potter. He's got to beat Jon Moxley to truly get ownership over the title, like the Elder Wand. I like the story. I think it works, and I personally think Orange Cassidy has to win. What do you say?
I think there's only. I think OC needs to win. You know, he lost at the last pay-per-view, got smoked pretty good to Mox. Mox, kind of beat him. I'm not going to say super easy, but pretty easily. Mox went over. And then, Mox got hurt and had to vacate the title. So here we are, back where we started. But the only scenario where I think Orange might lose here, because like you said, it would be a pretty nasty burial, is if he hasn't renewed his contract. Like, a lot of guys' contracts are coming up. I haven't heard anything about Orange's. But if Orange has told Tony, yeah, no, let's negotiate like in January, and he wants to talk to WWE and see what WWE might offer him, that's the only reason I could see.
That just seems so
Orange
weird.
It does. It's the last thing you would ever expect to see.
That
Orange in WWE? What?
Okay, first of all, when you put Orange up against any of the ex-WWE guys, he looks tiny.
He is tiny.
That's what I'm saying. You put him up against Mox, and he looks small. You put him up against Cesaro, and he looks like a fucking child. I mean, you put him in the ring with Jericho, and Jericho's just a thick boy. You put him in there with Brian Danielson. I still can't get it right. And he is a thick man. He put on some muscle. You had to in WWE. They forced you because that was what they demanded. And I'll be honest, it translates, because up against some of these indie stars like Orange, they just do not look believable in some of their moves. Against Cesaro, I swear to God, there was no chance that Cassidy could win, because Cesaro's just that big and literally that strong. Not even like IRL strong, like fucking strong. So, but apparently used to throw him around in the indies when it was Fire Ant and Cesaro and Claudio. So,
yeah,
I think OC has to win. He has to. Jon Mox, he doesn't lose anything by losing. He really doesn't. He only builds Cassidy by losing. He's got to lose.
Yep.
Moving on, we have Hangman Adam Page in the expected barn burner against Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana. This is a Texas death match. They've got so personal, brought up the fiance breaking up angle, broke into the home, threatened his son. Fortunately, it was just the crib. There's no way there was a child there. But, this turned into a real blood feud. And they're selling it well. They both have a ton of charisma. I'm excited to see this. I have a tough time calling this win, because Hangman absolutely should, in his position, win. But if Swerve were to get the win, that's a rocket. And he's been on the rise. He's got a team of people, including Prince Nana, that can come out and interfere in typical heel fashion. It's hard for me to call, but I've got to go Swerve Strickland. What about you, Jay? Full
Full Gear's Adam Page's pay-per-view, Full Gear was the Full Gear Challenge was something him and the Bucks did on BTE years ago. Hangman beat Kenny at Full Gear. So there's a tradition of Hangman winning. I think it's going to be an incredible matchup. I think these guys, left to their own devices, their own creativity in this Texas Death Match is going to be. We're going to see some insane shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully it goes beyond the level of what we saw tonight, which was just nuts. But yeah, I think it's going to be a banger. I like Hangman to win. However, I will definitely not be surprised if he doesn't. I think Swerve beat Hangman at Wrestle Dream at the last pay per view. So I don't know. Is Swerve really going to beat him twice? Is Swerve really going to go into his house and like threaten his family and then beat him at the pay per view? It just seems like they're setting this thing up for the babyface to win here,
especially Texas Death Match.
Yeah,
like a
and
Cowboy
through that,
special. Yeah,
through this loss, Swerve might evolve some other way out of this loss to move up on the charts. So I'm picking Hangman here.
You make a compelling argument because Hangman should win, as I said, but how much does it benefit Swerve? Same thing as OC versus Mox. It helps Swerve more by beating Hangman in his home match on his home pay-per-view. Whose house is it? Swerve's house. So I'm going to stick with Swerve. I hope I'm right. I would love to see Swerve win because it really would escalate him. I think either way he's going up the card, and this match is just going to help cement it. But I think a win would help more. Now the most anticipated match of the night, right here smack dab in the middle, is going to be the Golden Jets, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, the Golden Wizards, versus the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson versus Nick Jackson, who, if they weren't fighting Kenny, would not even be on this pay-per-view. All 25, unbroken streak, they're on the pay-per-view. If they win, if the Bucks win, Kenny and Chris must break up. So they're not breaking up. Obviously, the Bucks lose here. What do you say?
I don't like the Omega Jericho team. It just doesn't work for me. I would love to see the Bucks win, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think, like you said, like there's merch. I gotta check out the Golden Jets merch. I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird to have. We spent all this time with the Elite breaking up and then getting back together, and then Hangman's in, Hangman's out, Hangman's back in, and it was like this took years to develop, and now it's just like, oh, the group just kind of fell apart for no reason. Well, mostly because Tony Khan wasn't really using them, aside from their feud with BCC. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the Golden Jets win. I don't know where the story goes. I think it'll just kind of drag on, like
all Jericho feuds do.
Jericho will be mad at the Bucks, and Kenny will be sympathetic, and they'll get the win, and then maybe at the next pay-per-view they'll have a rematch. I don't know.
By the way, just to break in, Mark, one of our elite marks, who is the mark that we are named after, did say he's looking forward to the Texas Death Match the most at Full Gear, because Hangman and Mox is one that he loved the most last Texas Death Match. So I agree. I think it's going to be good. As far as the Golden Wizards, the Wizard Lizards, the Golden Jets, whatever you want to call them, doesn't make sense because it's Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, and Ibushi has nothing to do with this. So I don't see why they're golden anything. That said, the Young Bucks, if they lose their title match. So why not lose it to Omega and Jericho? I don't know that the Young Bucks are doing anything. It gives them more motivation to turn even more heel. I don't know. I have a tough time seeing Omega lose another match. So I'm going with Young Bucks. I noticed you posted the Golden Jets.
That's the merch.
I think that's ugly as shit, by the way.
I wouldn't get that.
I think our
more-
shirts are significantly better. You can
That's
find
true.
them by going to Zazzle.com, search for Elite Mark Order. We've got some fantastic shirts that recently have been made. I'll admit the Crimea River one is fun. There's a brand new Elite Mark Order. Get that one. It's got a great new artwork done by our AI friend. Was that Dali? Which one did you use to create that one?
Dolly.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Oh, so you put one of them on his shirt, one of them logos?
of course I did. Why
Oh,
not?
that's cool. Nice.
I was talking about it with Sentinel. So he's like, hey, put that on our shirt. I'm like, okay. So we did.
Nice.
Zazzle.com, Elite Mark Order. There's also in the description, you can click on it. Go to our store. It's a great way to support us and, show that you are an Elite Mark.
Yeah, so just my last comment on the Bucks versus Omega and Jericho. Like, it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a phenomenal match, probably the best match of the night. And except for maybe Hangman Swerve, will have a chance at, I think, being better. MJF versus Jay White's going to be excellent too. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the storyline here, but I'm gonna love the match. I'm gonna love the match
Yeah.
for sure. I can't wait to see it.
I mean, it's got the elements. First of all, it's got all of the Elite, and then you add in Chris Jericho. It's going to be a phenomenal match no matter what.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm excited to see it. Moving on, we've got a women's match because the women's actual title match is listed earlier in the card than the TBS title, which says a whole lot about that women's title. Chris Statlander, the champion, versus Julia Hart, versus, as we found out tonight, Sky Blue. I think it's about time. There's some shenanigans. I think Julia deserves the TBS title. I think her character has really gotten over. I think Sky Blue last week established she was still face and then came out this week as Scooby Blue again. I think that she turns. And together they beat Chris Statlander because those two stacked up together are almost as tall as Chris. And I think that's when it's going to take to beat Chris Statlander. Sky Blue turns, Julia Hart wins, and the House of Black gains another woman in Sky Black. Jay, what's your prediction?
I'm still kind of pissed that Julia Hart lost to Statlander at the last pay-per-view at Wrestle Dream because that was the only match I got wrong in the Forteller tournament, and I would have won if it wasn't for that.
I understand, but she had to go get married. She had to go get married and have a honeymoon. I cannot ever argue that.
Why? That's another mistake too. Why is she doing that at like 21 or whatever? It's like, really? I mean,
Because she's young and rich. Maybe not rich, but she's doing okay.
I suppose Sky Blue could turn and join Julia Hart, and Julia Hart goes over Statlander. But I don't know. Tony really likes Statlander. But he has been pushing Julia a lot, so I'd love to see Julia win here, but I feel like it's 50-50. It could go either way.
Here's the thing. First of all, you would think Chris Statlander would have a 33% chance because it's, a three-way chance. But everybody knows. I don't know the promo. I can't do Steiner math. I'm not going to try. The thing is, Julia Hart also comes with Brody King. Shenanigans always go towards the heel. I don't think Chris Statlander has been that strong. She was supposed to be a fighting champion. I haven't seen her in a week and a half, 2 weeks. She's not a fighting champion. She's been standing around. So I think Julia Hart needs to get this title because they need to do something with it. It's only mid-card. It's not that important. Let's move it along. It's not working with Chris. She had it. It worked for a little bit. Then you did nothing with her. So let's move it on to Julia Hart. I say Julia wins.
Statlander
Sky
beat
Black.
Willow.
Yeah.
Statlander beat Willow at Battle of the Belts on October 21st, but she hasn't fought since then. I wonder if maybe she. I hope she didn't irritate one of her knees or something. But
That's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
That could be a sign of a title change right there. So,
who do you think wins?
Julia for sure. If Statlander's going to lose, it's not going to be to Sky Blue.
I don't think Sky wins. No, it's got to be Julia, and
Yeah.
I think it's time for Julia. She went and got married. Let's go ahead and give her the belt now.
Yep. Oh, by the way, Brian Cage just had a kid.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Brian Cage. I know you're listening, Brian. The Machine's a big fan of the podcast. So hey, maybe go take some of that parental leave and hang out with your wife and kid now that he's 2 days old.
He might. He called his wife the Machine because apparently she keeps having kids. I'm not sure entirely. But I will say that congrats, Brian Cage. You had another kid. And, keep pumping them out. I'm not sure what to say about child. I never had children myself, so. Next match is the biggest clusterfuck on the card, which is for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. It is the current champs Ricky Starks and Big Bill versus Las Facción Ignobles Rush and his brother Drulístico versus FTR, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, and the Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi Black and Brody King. So Brody King cannot come out for Julia Hart as a manager. So I guess he won't be interfering.
Why can't he come out?
You can't. You can't. They just don't do that. You can be a manager or a wrestler. Especially if it's one after the next. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Julia Hart's going to come out with him. Especially if he's got a match where he's going to win and he gets to be a tag title. I think the Kings of the Black Throne deserve a win. Las Facción Ignobles is still building its strength. They haven't quite connected yet. They really don't deserve a shot. I know you hate Starks and Big Bill. Therefore, Kings of the Black Throne, because I think Malachi and Brody should always have titles. What about you?
Yeah, it's a tough one here. If they are trying to establish Starks and Bill for something, then it would make sense for them to retain here. There's a lot of guys they could safely pin. I guess not a lot, but Drulístico is probably going to be the person that gets pinned in this match.
Yeah. You look at everybody. You look at everybody. It's Drulístico. There's no question. Yeah. Whoever wins, they're pinning Drulístico.
Yeah, it's good to see Malachi Black coming back from his injury, and it's also good to see them in a tag match in a tag capacity with Brody King. No acclaimed on this show. That's interesting.
They're still selling the beatdown. The fact that they took the bullet for MJF.
Yeah, but to miss a pay-per-view is kind of crazy.
I don't agree with the booking. I'm simply explaining the fucking choices.
Yeah,
because they're stupid.
I'm not an acclaimed fan, so it doesn't bother me at all. It's just kind of surprising because they're one of their they're one of the more popular acts at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to this match. I don't know. I kind of think that Starks and Big Bill are going to retain, but I would love to see Malachi Black and Brody King win and then go up against Jericho and Kenny. I think that would be the match I'd want to see the most.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind seeing Jericho and Kenny versus FTR, but I think I'd rather see them against Black and King.
FTR's had a lot of title reigns already.
Yeah.
And we know that they're over. We know that they're popular. We know that they can sell merch, all that. So I think it's probably best that they don't win this currently. And either Starks and Bill retain, or again, is my choice, Kings of the Black Throne. So who's your ultimate choice?
Starks and Bill.
You really think they'll retain? Okay.
I do. I don't want them to, but I think they will. I hope we see a title change.
So just so you realize, the Guns winning, title change. Orange Cassidy losing would be a title change. So Orange Cassidy winning retains. Then we're looking at the tag championships, where we're saying that the champs lose to the House of Black, and Julia Hart wins and beats Chris Statlander, so the House of Black gets another title win. Do we think they walk away with that many belts? I say fuck it. Why not? Take some chances.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
And then MJF versus Jay White. Obviously, MJF wins. Jay White.
Have Buddy Matthews attack Jay White as Jay White's walking out to the ring, and then Buddy can beat MJF for the title. I'd be all for that.
There you go. We clearly are predicting MJF to beat Jay White. I think it'll be a great match. It's been a good build up. Jay White has proven he is at the elite level. I don't know if the Devil storyline is going to be paid off in that championship match. If it does get paid off, Jay White wins, beats MJF for the title. If it does not get paid off, then we move on and it's MJF versus Joe. Since they've been talking MJF versus Joe for a long time, I have to assume the Devil storyline does not get paid off.
No, I don't think it does. I think they may even drag this out a while until Adam Cole comes back, but that could be like over 6 months. Yeah. That would be a long time, but yeah, they could do it. They could make the Devil more active and just be unknown. You know, it could be Kyle O'Reilly is my pick.
O'Reilly. If O'Reilly was finally healthy, which, by the way, you look at the hired goons and there was 4 of them, then the Devil. So that's 5 people. The Kingdom and Roddy's only 3. You add Adam and maybe it's 4, but then you still have the Devil. Who's the 5th?
Bobby Fish.
I don't think Fish is coming back. However, Kyle Fletcher, I think, could be a great addition if it turns out that it's the Kingdom plus Adam Cole plus Kyle Fletcher. Ultimately, that would be another version of the undisputed elite, whatever they're going to go with name this time. But
yep.
I think that is going to do it. I want to thank everybody who's still listening. Appreciate your comments.
I want to...
Before
we close out, I would love to throw in a couple more things.
Sure.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Dakota Ibushi. Tony posted after the show that Ibushi is all elite. I just wanted to mention that. Any thoughts on Ibushi joining the official roster?
He hasn't been super impressive, but he comes in with a hell of a resume. I'd like to see where he goes, and can he connect with the English audience? We know he's a good wrestler. We know he's got the resume. Can he connect? He's got the push of some of the top stars in the company. Kenny Omega, Don Callis. All these guys are going to try to get him over. Can he connect with the U.S. audience? That's my question.
I think my question is, can he get healthy and can he get back into ring shape? I mean, he could still work a tombstone off the apron through a bunch of chairs and a table, so he's fine from that standpoint. But yeah, he needs to get. It would be good to see him get into a little better shape, because it's just so weird seeing him right now. It's like, wow, is that even the same dude?
Yeah,
that was like shredded out of his mind. So yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say is I wanted to give a shout out to the Speedball Mike Bailey versus Billy Starks matchup that was on JCW last Sunday. It's free match on YouTube. Watch that JCW match from November 11th. Billy Starks, Speedball Mike Bailey, baller of a match. Check it out.
Well, because we all know, first of all, that Speedball is phenomenal. And Billy Starks, I think everybody in the Discord has a crush on that woman because she's phenomenal. And why the fuck aren't you using her more, Tony?
That's right.
All right. So we want to say thank you very much for listening to the Elite Mark Order. Join us in the Discord. Give us a like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. We appreciate all of your support. There's only one way to end this, and that is to say, JJ for life, and thank you for listening.